To start out our California news section, we have an article from the Seattle Times. Seattle's first cannabis farmers market attracts several hundred Sunday. In a display of what may be coming to a city near you, Seattle held a cannabis farmers market on Sunday, February 27th that had over 600 attendees. Organizers say this is primarily to help patients living in outlying areas connect with providers who tend to run their businesses in larger cities. Some patients don't have consistent and safe access to medical cannabis. This is an idea that is sure to spread quickly and should prove to be a method of making medicinal cannabis even more mainstream than it already is.
And now from the Sacramento Bee, debuting in Sacramento, the Wal-Mart of weed. In Sacramento, a chain of hydroponic medical cannabis growing stores called We Grow has opened, and others will also open in Arizona, Colorado, New Jersey, and Oregon. Staff will only discuss cannabis growing with people who have a valid recommendation and will offer classes for customers. It is good to see more open business practices to undermine the federal government's illegal war on drugs, which has prevented our energy, textile, and medical industries from using cannabis in the past century, and instead forced the use of toxic oil products.
From the LA Times, Los Angeles gets tough with political protesters. It shows the development of a politically motivated police state in Los Angeles at the behest of Los Angeles City Attorney Carmen Trudernich, who is attempting to get jail sentences for dozens of protesters on a range of issues. Issues include protests over Arizona's immigration bill, protests supporting the DREAM Act, and protests against student fee and tuition increases. The fact that the spirit of the First Amendment is no longer followed and protesters are required to get expensive permits and insurance coverage for large events is a hindrance on freedom of speech and only serves the power elite. Protests aren't supposed to be planned with government support. They're supposed to be shocking and spontaneous. That's the only way people ever get the attention of those in power. Look at the Arab world right now for an example of this.
From the Orange County Register, kids who skip school are tracked by GPS. The Anaheim Union School District is forcing students with 4 unexcused absences to carry a GPS unit and get automated phone calls if they need to be in school. 5 times a day they have to enter codes into the unit, and 3 times a week students are called by an adult. This program helps prevent prosecution by the school against parents and their children. Public schools have criminalized normal behavior to troubling levels, and now students are being tracked like criminals. Schools lose $35 a day for absent students, and so the program makes kids more efficient slaves. Public schools have little to offer, as they have been hijacked to the extent that they have become detrimental. Check out John Taylor Gatto's free lectures on public education, free on Google Video.
From California Watch, School Foundation solicits donations to save district jobs. Law Canada School District in Los Angeles County has recently asked for a $2,500 yearly donation from parents in order to cover a $5 million budget shortfall due to state spending cuts. I remember having bake sales in elementary school and selling magazines in middle school to go on field trips. I even remember there being no paper in the classrooms and it had to be donated by the parents. But this is a new low in the priorities of government spending. The fact that there's enough money to bomb and kill innocent women and children in other countries and schools in this country are not being funded is despicable. Also from California Watch, class sizes continue to grow amid shrinking school year. States that amid a deepening recession and budget crisis, class sizes in California have been going up despite receiving funding for the class size reduction program. It also notes that nearly 60% of California school districts have reduced the length of the school year. This is another sign of a bad spending policy on the part of the government when banks get billions in bailouts while schools continue to suffer. Continuing from California Watch, hospital chain already under scrutiny reports high malnutrition rates, exposes some very odd statistics coming out of hospitals run by Prime Healthcare Services, which is a company that prides itself on saving financially troubled hospitals. Hospitals run by this company have shown an extreme disparity in the amount of patients diagnosed with kwashiorkor, a third-world disease linked to malnutrition and low protein levels. Diagnosing patients with this disease could be a form of what is known as upcoding, whereby hospitals overstate patients' diagnoses on billing records to obtain bonus payments that can amount to millions of dollars. Prime Healthcare Services is under investigation for the same practices with the disease septicemia.
From the LA Times, child custody expert linked to lewd web photos. Somebody who's decided hundreds of child custody disputes is under investigation by the Medical Board of California after, quote, posting lewd photos of himself on Facebook and allegedly promoting illegal drug use, unprotected sex, and male prostitution, end quote. More proof that people who get into working with children can be more dangerous than the situations the police state seeks to moderate. They also make tens of thousands of dollars deciding the fate of families while harboring dark and twisted desires that often are not made public as easily.
From the San Francisco Chronicle, violence against BART agents escalating. Gives the numbers of batteries that have occurred in the last 3 years against BART agents. The number has gone up by 2 since 2009, but has dropped by 20 since 2008, when there were 54 attacks reported. They range from verbal assaults, spitting and throwing soda cans, to actual punching and kicking, and one woman who reportedly threatened an agent with a gun. Unfortunately, with incidents like the Oscar Grant shooting added to the lack of general manners and respect in our society, these incidents are likely to continue.
From the LA Times, public warned of phone scam being run from LA County jails. In a classic example of displacement, the excessive predatory phone company costs imposed on people who are ingested by the police state are now being passed on through a call forwarding scam. Many people don't even have landlines, and cell services don't accept direct collect calls. I am not surprised by this externality of the prison industrial complex, just one of many.
From the Sacramento Bee, OC Sheriff's Deputy convicted of domestic violence. Not only is this a disgusting example of domestic violence, but also it is an example of the double standard applied to police officers who commit crimes. It states Travis Unholtz of Trabuco Canyon was sentenced Monday to 19 days in jail and 3 years of probation after pleading guilty to a misdemeanor count of domestic battery and a felony count of attempted possession of a firearm in violation of a protective order. Two things to note. One is that he's only getting 19 days of jail time for violently assaulting his own wife. And two is that just attempting to obtain a firearm is a felony charge, while beating his wife is just a misdemeanor. This demonstrates an extreme unfairness and absurdity in our legal system.
From the San Francisco Chronicle, drug cop allegedly filmed counting cash from sale. Norman Welsh, a state drug agent who led a multi-agency anti-narcotics team, is charged with 28 felony counts along with Christopher Butler, a private investigator who used his business as a front to find buyers. Welsh was apparently stealing seized drugs like cannabis and meth to make money for retirement. His lawyer seeks to excuse his behavior by Welsh being deep in debt. He was caught with dozens of bottles of steroids and 4,000 Xanax pills and trying to sell flour in place of 3 pounds of meth. Welsh was freed, and Butler is still being held on $900,000 bail.
From the San Francisco Chronicle, SF cops allegedly caught in misconduct on video. In a separate but equally disturbing example of police corruption, a fourth video has been released by the San Francisco Public Defender's Office of alleged police misconduct during a drug operation. It states officials claim that the trouble may not be confined to a handful of rogue cops. We're dealing with a disturbing pattern of conduct that suggests a police culture of disregarding the truth and being comfortable with that. While the police are continually let off the hook for setting up drug deals, the average citizen has the book thrown at them when caught with small amounts of recreational drugs. Another sign of the failure of the drug war and proof that law enforcement are part of the problem.
From the San Francisco Chronicle, Contra Costa deputies' dirty DUI arrests. DUI arrests by Stephen Tonabee were coordinated with a private investigator who sought to ruin people's personal reputations to manipulate legal battles. Christopher Butler, the same private investigator helping corrupt cop Welsh sell stolen drugs from evidence in the last story. Clients would buy this corrupt service for $5,000, which would use attractive women posing as documentary filmmakers asking about alcohol. Tonabee was freed on $260,000 bail and appears to have resigned. This is clearly scandalous treachery.
Continuing from the San Francisco Chronicle, results of furloughs, $1 billion liability, prison guards, supervisors rack up millions of hours in paid time off. Due to the statewide furloughs first imposed by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, whereby state employees were forced to give up a day of work per month without pay, prison guards, the article states, have racked up 33.2 million hours of vacation, sick, and other paid time off, an astounding accumulation that amounts to nearly half a year per worker. Furloughs are problematic at California's 33 state prisons, all of which operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and have thousands of unfilled prison guard positions. Workers have been coming in on their furlough days and banking paid time off. This has led to a $1 billion bill for the taxpayers of California.